Here I am, Lord. Last week we heard the call of Isaiah, the call of Paul, and the call of Peter, and of ourselves. We've heard that call. That's why we're here. The call of the resurrected Jesus. Here I am, Lord. My wife and I led a retreat almost 20 years ago in Shelby, Ohio, and that was the theme of our weekend retreat. Here I am, Lord. Here I am. When we respond to the call, though that is just the beginning, we have signed up. We have enlisted. We need to be trained. We need to go to boot camp to be transformed into Christians. I remember it well. June 1983. I had signed up to become an officer in the United States Marine Corps. For almost a year, I had trained and worked with fellows who were part of the ROTC up in Oxford. And I had left behind my wife and my 2 sons to go to Quantico, Virginia for officer candidate school. On the second morning, on that fateful June day, I heard the drill sergeant, and the immediate thought that went through my mind, in words too colorful to say here, was, what in the heck have I gotten into? Why am I here? And so it is, my friends, when we transform ourselves into the call of Christ. Our first reading was from my favorite prophet, Jeremiah. Jeremiah tells us that we must trust in God, not in human ways, to hold firm to God. I think he may have been speaking to himself more than to the people of Israel in this case. And he did hold firm. But Baruch, who would put together his teachings, also included the Jeremiah's personal diary in a few sections in that book of the prophet Jeremiah. Because Jeremiah at one point would confess how difficult it was to be a voice for God when he said, "Woe to me, mother, that you gave me birth." Such was the pain of answering the call of God. And so we are all called to this transformation and have been for some time. What does it mean? How are we to think? How are we to act? Where do we go for training? Well, Jesus teaches us, especially in the gospel. He teaches us what we must learn every day. What Jeremiah had to learn every day, what Isaiah had to learn every day, what Paul and Peter and all Christians must learn every day. That blessings are gifts. They're gifts from God for the people of God. Even if we personally don't see them as blessings. One day, a father of a very wealthy family took his son on a trip to the country with the firm purpose of showing his son how poor people live. Okay? They spent a couple of days and nights on the farm of what would be considered a very poor family. On the return from their trip, the father asked his son, "How was the trip?" "Well, it was great, Dad." "Did you see how poor people live?" Oh, yeah. So tell me, what did you learn? Well, Dad, I saw that we have one dog, and they have 4. We have a pool that reaches to the middle of our garden, and they have a nice wide creek that has no end. We have imported lanterns in our garden. They have the stars at night. Our patio reaches to the front yard. They have the whole horizon. We have a small piece of land to live on. They have fields that go beyond sight. We have servants who serve us, but they serve others. We buy our food. They grow theirs. We have walls around our property to protect us. They have friends to protect them. The boy's father was speechless. His son added, "Thanks, Dad, for showing me just how poor we are." Our encounter with Jesus, my friends, transforms our perspective through this training, through this boot camp. It inspires us to service, and it brings us true peace and true happiness, especially in the most difficult of times. Because really, when we're poor, that's when we're rich. When we're hungry, that's when we'll be satisfied. When we're hurting, mourning, and weeping, that's when we'll be able to laugh and be joyful. And when we're despised because of Christ, that's when we're truly loved and we find friendship in God. Remember, my favorite prophet Jeremiah stuck it out. They threw him in a well. My friends, this is the call that we've answered. The call to which we have said, "Here I am, Lord."